The overriding theme in Advent, of course, is what we just heard in the Gospel. Stay awake, be prepared, the Lord is coming. But I've been thinking about another theme that's in the readings today. I'd like to meditate on those with you. It begins with this image of the Lord's mountain. Isaiah says, in days to come, the Lord's mountain will be established as the highest mountain. And the fact that one mountain is the highest mountain implies that there are other mountains. And so it's worth stopping for a moment and thinking about that. We have our own mountains, so to speak. We have multiple mountains in our lives, just the mountain of our life, figuring out our life and getting through it, you know. Finding our spouse, the mountain of our marriage, our career, raising our family, all that, you know. But in the midst of all that is God's mountain, you know. And so it's worth asking ourselves, are we only climbing these little mountains in our lives, or are we giving thought to the fact that we're climbing the Lord's mountain? That's really what we're here to do. And the other thing that occurs to me is the highest mountain is probably also the hardest to climb. And that's where it occurs to me there's great joy in the readings today, because we don't have to do that by ourselves. We're called in to a church. Right? I remember a few years ago, maybe 3 summers ago maybe, my friend Father Roy and I went out west and we hiked in the Bitterroot Mountains. And I'll never forget the first hike. We went from 4,000 feet to about 9,500 feet, you know, with just the two of us. So we had pretty heavy packs. The mountain beat me that day. I got so far, you know, we got to the point where we were resting about every 15 minutes, it seemed like. And finally, I just said, Roy, I'm done. I'm done. I put my pack down, sat down, and I actually passed out. I just kind of fell asleep. We weren't at the top, you know. And when I awoke, Roy had not only, after his rest, I guess, gotten to the top with his pack, but he came back down and carried my pack up the rest of the way for me. So when I awoke, I just had to walk up, you know. And it seems to me that's one of the reasons Jesus established his church. There are different reasons, there are a couple of reasons, you know, but one of them is certainly so that we don't have to walk up this mountain of the Lord by ourselves. John Paul II I've been reading some of his meditations, and he writes that the suffering of others in the church, we should carry that with us as well, help carry that. And the joys of others should resound in our hearts as well, you know. And so we're in this church and we help each other. One of the words that strikes me today that we hear over and over again actually is the word let's. You know, in the first reading, you know, come, let us climb the mountain of the Lord, you know. I like that word. It's just feel this, the difference between saying, I'm going to get something to eat, and let's go get something to eat. I'm going to go see a movie. Hey, let's go see a movie. You know, there's something comforting and joyful and supportive about that. You know what I mean? And Paul says, he uses that word let's also, let us. You know, let us put off the deeds of darkness. Let's put on the armor of light. Let us act in a certain way, you know. Not, I'm going to do this or you should do this, but let us do this. And we pray, what do we pray in the Confiteor, you know? I confess and I pray Mary and all the saints, and you, my brothers and sisters, pray for me to the Lord our God. And so this is not a walk that we walk alone, you know. I tell, the last few years I've been telling the RCIA team, look, it's not enough to bring people into the church. We have to, our task is to make them disciples of Jesus, you know. But I could also say, you know, we're not just making disciples of Jesus, we're bringing them into the church. Both are true, you know. And so we walk, and then what do we say in the responsorial song? I rejoiced when I heard them say, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." And yes, there's suffering in this walk, and it's difficult at times. It's easy to forget that we are to be together. We're a church, you know. In our parish, we're one part of the church. But it's a joyful walk amid the sorrow. At least that was what it was intended to be. And we hear in the collect that we prayed, you know, we're not just waiting for Jesus, but let us go out and run to meet Christ with good deeds, you know. And so it's good to remind us of that, remind ourselves of that. That we're not just walking, trudging along by ourselves. We're walking together, we're joining together on what's a joyful pilgrimage, really, a joyful journey. Christ is coming. Let us go out together and meet him.